Hello YouTube! We've got another Combiner Wars review here, and this time we're doing Ironhide. He's a figure I originally passed up. He's meant to be the pretend Gestalt with the Optimus Maximus. I guess just the fake Stennicons or whatever it was in the old series. And but yeah, I'd passed him up, but I ended up deciding to get him because he might be a good limb from the Gestalt I'm trying to do for my Defensor. So far, everybody is a white limb, so he's going to stand out, but he may balance out as far as the overall shape. So let's go ahead and get him out of the package and see what he's like. So here we've got him out of the package. This is his hand-foot weapon, and I'm not a real huge fan of using these as weapons, but since I'm only displaying them and not really playing with them, this is something I always put away. He comes with an axe, and maybe it has sort of a gun mode to it. I don't see anything that would look good in that respect, but you could peg it to the side post here or whatever. He's a great looking bot. Nice head sculpt, really young looking for an Ironhide. I mean, they could have called him anything else and made him a new character, but they're going to go with the Ironhide because I guess they're reusing a lot of molds in this. Only thing that kind of glares to me, that's not a huge issue. So they've got the pegs, the shoulder pegs that go through here, the holes. They didn't paint them or anything. They sort of almost look like the paint's chipped off, but it's actually just where the pegs go through. This kibble here from the side isn't great looking. You can kind of fold it around. On the front it looks alright because it looks just like some shoulder armor. It's got the sort of angled feet, so you can get a decent looking pose, but there's no posability there. And just some standard articulation, swivel, hip, knee, nothing in the feet, but the wheels do roll. Shoulders have decent articulation points, but this kibble here really limits their movement. Unless maybe you could move that out of the way and then pose it, but as far as just play factor, if a kid was going to play with it, that would be a hindrance there. So it'd either be tossed back, put back for your posing, or whatever. Not a lot of kibble, the back's fine, but I wanted to compare him to the Generations figure, which I actually like. A lot of people didn't like it, and I'd customized mine. The only thing I had done is I painted the face silver because the blue was awful. I thought he looked like a John Kerry, who was a candidate running at the time, but with the silver face, he looks much more Ironhide. But it's kind of neat to have them together, where it's sort of like the old and young. I was a fan of how they did the hands and had the arm cannon attach. But he has a lot of kibble, and a vehicle mode isn't really good at all. But it's just a robot. I think he's a pretty decent figure. Now, this is a good looking figure, a nice update, and you can see some similarities in the head design. But it's definitely a younger looking bot, much sleeker, and this is of course chunky and older design technology, even though it's a far more complex transformation than this is. So anyway, let's go ahead and get him in vehicle mode. Take his axe out here. Legs pop forward and collapse. Let's see. You can see the groove there where they fit. Forward, collapse, fold the feet back up, snap together. You've got the truck bed, and these sort of had these little pegs here that will hold it together. So snap these together. Doesn't hold too great. Maybe I don't see any way for this. It's really kind of loose. I think these inner pegs need to snap. Seems like it's got some resistance there, so maybe push like that. There. So you just got to make sure it's flat. I don't hear a snap on that one, but it seems to be holding. And then they snap in the back. Arm straight. Really simple transformation. And this is a remold of a Stennicon figure who I don't have, but I have been considering His head pops up real easy as well, just because he might be a good balance limb-wise as far as this one, because I'm not really worried about, you know, factions or what they belong to. I just want to make a cool bot. And so to go into leg mode, and I'm gonna, since I am using prow as my other limb, I'm not gonna bother with the perfect effect stuff right now, just because I can't give you an accurate, because I'm gonna have to either the new perfect effect set will fit better, or I'm gonna have to do modifications on the next one I get. And I may get another brand depending on what's available. But to do foot, just fold that forward. As head, can't really push off the head, at least on mine, because it pops off every time. But then just rotate, snap together. So we've got a leg limb. I'll go ahead and bring out Defensor. Don't even bother calling him that, because that's not even who he is anymore. He's just Defensor's torso and one of the limbs from the Defensor. So go ahead and put him back here. Zoom out so you guys can get a better see. Alright, as you can see, I'm still using a aerial bot as a limb because I still have one more limb to hunt down. And one thing that bothers me with a lot of these configurations is the balance of the figure. I really like Rook as an arm. I think Prowl makes a good or better leg than an arm. I could maybe mess with him as an arm configuration, but I want him to balance out Rook. Now, Rook makes an alright leg as well, and as a leg, he might go decent with this figure. But as you can see, the balance I talk about that I don't like, we have the kneecap further forward and down, where this one's up. And I'm not such a stickler about the color as I am about just the overall balance of the figure. So he makes a decent leg. Actually makes a pretty good leg because he covers up the port better than Prowl. And maybe, you know, we can change the default configuration of Prowl and move that up. And it's a little bit more balanced, but it makes Prowl look like such a larger vehicle. And he is a bit wider. I mean, Ironhide must be a really compact truck in comparison to how Prowl is as a vehicle mode. But he does look better that way with that configuration change, just because it balances out this section here. Now as a limb, I'll go ahead and put Prowl back the way he's supposed to be. And we'll just swap out limbs here. Put Prowl back the way that he's supposed to be. As far as Transformers designated, what I'm going to do, I've got another aerial bot here, just to make this go quicker. Pop him on. Pop on the foot. Okay. And then pop this limb off. Now, to go into an arm mode, I already started the transformation on accident just when I pulled them off. We want to extend the legs, and that will give us our elbow movement. And there's a peg there to snap them together. Snap them like that. And so as far as we extend this, all locks together, and that will give us our lower arm section and give us our elbow bend. Now, mine doesn't stay together all that well. Rotate the waist. Actually, no. That's rotate the waist. But mine does pop apart really easily. I don't know if it's because they're wearing out these molds, because I think this was also a Protect-A-Bot remold as well, so this would be the third time that they've done this. But it is a little loose on the pegs where they snap together. So once you pose it, you might have to do some fiddling. And then the arms here, So we'll push this peg forward. And then the arms fold back. And there's a peg back here. Okay. So the arms fold back. You have to raise the shoulders. So raise the shoulders. There's a peg back here that fits into the forearm. Just line that up. And I am I'm disappointed that these molded hands have sort of returned. I think it would have been nice if that's... I mean, since it's the same color, they don't stink it as much as they do on some of these other figures. But that is one of the drawbacks of these simpler designs that they're doing. There's a lot of potential in some of these bots. It's like they could go push them just a little bit further and it'd be a really great adult collectible, but they're trying to save money and target kids as well. So, and that doesn't peg in there all that great. But I'd say as far as the mold goes, that's definitely some knocks. Just stability of it, stability of things pegging together and holding up. And maybe they're not all like that, but mine definitely has a little bit of trouble sticking together. I don't know how much more you'll see. It seems like some of the waves are pretty rare. Like I still have yet to see any of the Defensor or actual limbs, but I've seen this series twice at the same store. I've seen them sell out and then get picked up or more in stock. So, and I think he balances out Rook okay. He does have a little bit higher weight, but I think he does a better job than Prowl does. And of course, if you wanted to, you might do some different configurations with Rook, and you can add a little bit more outward weight, but I don't think you can do any vertical weight just because of the way it's designed. But it's a pretty decent limb. So I'm going to try to collect one more, at least, that's going to kind of go over this overall configuration. And I sort of like, you've got the white and the red, but I can't think of any other red. There's a red Stunnicon, or kind of a maroon. So I don't know if that will be a good option. But I'm going to keep my eyes open. Maybe I'll find another decent limb. And I could end up with another white Protectobot and just end up with one red limb. It's hard to say. And for that, in that same regard, since this shares a mold with a white Protectobot, the white version of this might have been a good option to use as another arm, and then just the other white Protectobot sports car, and you have a pretty balanced bot there. And I could still end up going that route. So anyway, let us know what you think about some of the possible different configurations that you've done that may be different from what Hasbro has designated as the the G1 bots that they're sort of recapturing. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. So take care.